Hi, my name is Stephanie Flint, and I am the co-creator of Infinitas Publishing. And today I will be doing a reading of Magic Stealing, Chapter 13. So I'm continuing with reading those. Also, I will be giving you guys a sneak peek of Phalanx, the game that Isaac has been working on. And we'll show you one of the cards. These are just the proof cards, so it's actually going to look about like that. Right now we have them on just regular cards because you're trying to test for the general color and how it looked, but they'll actually be a little more close to this size, with the idea being that they can be rotated in any direction. This is how it's going to be kind of like Tetris, but Tetris meets chess meets checkers. Also, this is what the back will look like. And a sneak peek of part of the game board because you can't fit the whole game board on one card. It actually is a board game. See there. And what the front of the box will look like super tiny. In addition to that, one of the things that we're doing is we're going to be making 3 different versions of this game as well as what our current plan is. One is going to be the board game, which is more or less the board has these cards and everything like that will be available online for purchase. The other one we'll be doing is we are working with a local woodcrafter to create a wooden board game, and we're also working on Isaac will be making these little bags that will contain the pieces of the game and has the game board actually ironed onto it, and we'll be selling those at local conventions and craft fairs and stuff like that. And as a special little promo thing that we're going to do for anyone who buys a game of Phalanx at a local convention or craft fair that we're selling at, we're going to be giving away specialty Battle Dex cards, which has the Phalanx image on it. It's called Friendly Game. They have editions for both the Britannian and the Prussians, but they'll only be available with that. So anyways, that's kind of one of the things we're working on. I'm also working on trying to do some final touches to Distant Horizon so I can get that to a proofreader. In the meantime, I hope you enjoy the reading.
Chapter 13. Tirana, wake up! Are you alright? Darren's voice cut through Tirana's head like the shadow knife had cut her side. She groaned. Her body was stiff, her limbs ached, and she could swear Darren was shouting through one of those ridiculous megaphones some of the lesser nobles used. Darren. Her eyes shot open. The lights around her were fuzzy, as were the walls, but that white spot in the middle of a brown mop was obviously her best friend. She flung her arms around him. He squeaked, flailing, and they both collapsed to the floor. You're alive! He gasped and gulped for air. Why wouldn't I be? Tirana, you're choking me. You're talking so you're not choking. She gave him the hugest grin she could muster before blinking the fuzziness from her eyes. Darren rubbed his throat. That whole not choking if you're talking thing might be a myth. Are you okay? You collapsed. Tirana looked past him to the dresser in her room, the fuzzy yellow light of the lamp, and the star-filled night outside her window. She was in her room, just after nightfall, the same time as when she'd left. I'll explain in a moment. What happened at the mountain forge, after we were surrounded? Darren frowned. What do you mean? You were there. Yes, but what did you see? Well, this other person attacked the shadows, then commanded us to run. He scratched his head. I didn't get a good look at her, thanks to all the fog in the area, but I think she was our age. Tirana let out a breath. She had gone back in time. It wasn't a dream, and Darren was alive. But if she was the woman he'd seen, then she should be wounded. Unnerved, she raised the side of her tunic where Kafrash had struck her. Nothing. Her skin was unmarred, no trace of where the blade had struck. But she still had passed Darren's magic. His blue shape-shifting ribbons trailed through hers. You sure you're all right? Your magic is different. Again. Darren eyed her with concern. Tirana winced and dropped her shirt. Darren, I've got a long story, and I don't think you're going to like it. At least, you won't if it actually happened. He raised his eyebrows inquisitively, but he sat beside her, pulled his knees to his chest, and listened. Darren took to Tirana's version of events surprisingly better than she expected. In fact, he kept pestering her for the details about realities, realms, and time magic far past midnight, until she finally kicked him out of her room so she could get some rest. Time travel, it seemed, took a lot of energy. The next morning, Tirana woke to a distant peal of thunder. Grey stormlight poured through her window and rain pelted the glass. Darren had invited himself in, and he currently held two of her dresses side by side, comparing them against his body. She gave him a sleepy half-smile. If they don't look good on me, I doubt they're going to look any better on you. He dropped the dresses, then scrambled to catch them before they crumpled to the floor. I was trying to decide which of these would look best on you. His cheeks burned a furious red. Tirana smirked and pushed herself out from the smothering heat of her blankets. She took the silky red dress with golden threading from him, held it to her shoulders and sighed. The sleeves are too thin, the expansive ruffle around the wrist would get in the way of swordplay, and the heavy sweeping skirts are for tripping over, not fighting, much better suited for dainty court ladies. She tossed the dress onto her bed without regard for wrinkles and snatched the evergreen dress from his arms before he could protest. A bit better. Sleeves are loose under the armpits and not too form-fitting for someone with a little more muscle. She flexed her bicep to demonstrate, and Darren smirked. And the color won't stand out so bad when hiding in a forest, she continued. But the double layer of fabric in the skirt will get caught in the branches. She flipped the skirt over and pointed to a snag her seamstress hadn't discovered. Not terrible, but not great either. Now, if you want something practical... She thrust the dress back into Darren's arms and yanked out the lowest drawer of her dresser. After digging around for a minute, she found a camise and a flowing lightweight skirt. This is far more practical. See the pockets? She wriggled the pocket at him, and Darren laughed. A knock sounded at the door, and they both turned. The door creaked open. Siklana rested against the frame. She looked exhausted, but her eyes widened when she saw them. "Where were you yesterday?" she demanded. She started into the room, then stumbled. Tirana dropped the dress and rushed to catch her. "Are you all right?" Siklana shook her head. She followed Tirana's lead to the bed. Her forehead was warm, her fingers clammy. Her normally pristine brown hair was tangled in a dark knot at the base of her skull, with stray hairs plastered to her cheeks. Dark purple skin colored the underside of her bloodshot eyes. "I feel terrible." Darren came beside her. Tiny gold ribbons flitted between them. She let out a relaxed breath, and he frowned. "She's still showing symptoms from the loss of her magic." "Will she be okay?" Tirana asked. "What about the other mages?" "I don't know. I think she's in withdrawal. I can continue giving her bits of magic to help sustain her, but I don't know how long I can do that before the effect wears off and she needs more than I can give her. Or the other mages." "Try to wean me off it," Siglana whispered, her voice hollow. "If you take longer between each dose, that might help." Tirana and Darren exchanged glances. He rubbed the dark strip of hair on his chin. "If she's still sick, there's a good chance that the same is true of the other mages we helped. So we need to get their magic back," Tirana said bluntly. As much as she didn't like magic, she could see a clear benefit to making sure that Kafrash didn't keep it for himself. Or give their magic to Asana. "How do you figure that?" Siglana asked. "No one knows why the gods took it away." She took a deep breath, stretched, and tried to sit as properly as possible on the bed. "The gods didn't take our magic," Darren said. "Not the whole pantheon, anyway." Tirana pursed her lips. "Ifa said Asana's behind the stealing." Siglana gaped at her. "You spoke with a goddess?" "Long story. Suffice it to say that a fire mage named Kafrash is working with the trickster to steal the magic of Kairna into a wishing sword so he can confront the high gods for their powers." Siklana's lips twisted into a half-round and her nose twitched like it did whenever she got an idea. "Kafrash, you say?" "Lord Kafrash Minstatil." Maybe? I think that's what Ifa called him. The events are kind of fuzzy." Siklana tapped her chin thoughtfully. "Interesting. Lord Minstatil vanished from the court circle several years ago. There was a big scandal. Everyone knew he worshipped Asana. He even kept a gang dedicated to the trickster's worship. A few of those members fled before he went off the deep end. Supposedly, he spent his nights working late in the forge and his mornings drunk. Wouldn't talk to anybody. Rumor has it that he even cast out his wife and banished her from his property. No one's heard from either of them since. He closed off his estate from the other lords." Tirana raised an eyebrow. "Sounds pleasant." "Completely." Siklana rolled her eyes. "What did he look like?" Darren asked. "Blonde hair, kind of squash nose, broad shoulders?" Siklana shrugged. "I've never met him personally." "If the rumors still abound," Tirana said, "we might be able to use those to our advantage in trying to get the sword away from him. Get a few of the other noble houses in on this, and they might be able to detail any of his weaknesses to the guard." Both Darren and her sister stared at her. Tirana blinked. "What?" A nervous laugh escaped Darren's throat. "You realize they have no way of getting that sword, right? You said the only thing that hurt the shadows were those glassstone blades and shadow weapons. We have neither." Siklana's eyes widened. "You fought him?" Tirana sighed and explained the story again. Her sister listened patiently, and Darren added bits whenever Tirana forgot to mention something that he'd wheedled from her the night before. It's funny, Siklana noted at the end of the tale. Her cheeks had regained their color and her eyes were brighter. I could swear I've heard of Glassstone before, but I can't remember where. Must be in one of the older scrolls. If we could find that scroll, we might figure out where to find more of Glassstone. Or how to make it. Right, Darren agreed. It's possible that one of the other houses has access to Glassstone. If they do, your father can enlist their help in taking out Coffresh. Tirana cleared her throat. Either way, we might want to check that the Shota is safe before Coffresh or Asana figures out what it is. The stone was at the seer's place before everyone's magic was stolen, but I don't know if Ifit took it back with her. I don't recall anything after I returned, so it might still be there. No need to give a man with a wishing blade the power to travel time. She held back an involuntary shudder. More importantly, no need to give Asana a way to travel back in time. I'd be surprised if Ifit didn't take the stone, Siklana said, but I'll come with you. If there's archaic magic involved, I might be able to help. That's what I was studying at the academy. Are you sure you're up for this? Tirana asked. Siklana nodded. I'm starting to feel better. Good. Why don't you two get dressed? Darren suggested, giving her a pitying look. I'll get the horses ready. If you see your parents, tell them what's going on. They might be able to send a message to the other nobles. Tirana shooed them from her room, then forsook the dresses and skirts for her favorite sparring outfit. She had no intention of being caught unaware by the shadows. That in mind, she raised her sight a little more, just in case a shadow tried to sneak up on her.